What is up, everyone? Welcome back. Sorry it's been a while. Things have been busy. And the fuel pump, I believe, is out on the Flame, the S10, the purple truck, the Plumber's plumbing truck. So I started taking the bolts off the bed. I actually started with the fuel filter because that's the easiest fix. And if that fixed the problem, then that would have been great. Fortunately, it did not fix the problem. So I'm thinking it's the fuel pump, which means the easiest way is probably to take the bed off the truck. Well, the easiest way to do it properly. I guess you could always cut a hole in the bed of the truck, but I didn't really want to cut a hole in it. The bed is actually somewhat kind of solid, which is rare for being in the Pennsylvania area. Normally they're all rusted out. Now there is a little bit of rust under here, which I'll show you in a minute, but it's not terrible. This truck doesn't really see winter roads too often. So I have all the bolts out from under it. I ended up breaking two because some of the bolts were pretty rusty. And those ones, I don't think that I twisted the wrench. I mean, it's possible I did, but two bolt heads snapped off and, well, it is what it is. We'll drill it out and retap it, but that's okay. So as you can tell, I have the bed jacked up a little bit here. I was just making sure that everything is kind of loose. I have one more wire to disconnect down there because of the guy that had the truck before me. This is actually a salvage title truck. It's been totaled a long time ago, and they kind of rebuilt it, and it looks like they did some of the wiring for the taillights or maybe the license plate light. I think it's actually the license plate light. They did, but the way they routed it was tucked up over the bed rails, so it needs to get disconnected or cut and coupled back together or something. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But I just want to show you where we are on the truck so far. So let's see here. Let's get under the truck. Let's see. All right, we're going to lower this jack down, see if the wood holds. I just have some wood blocks you can see right in there between one of the bed rails and sitting on the frame. So it's pretty sturdy. I'm not going to get under there and wrench on anything, but it's solid enough to not be too concerning. Look at that. Beautiful. All right, let's get this jack out of the way. Give it a good old rock test here. Seems pretty sturdy for what it is. Now, the reason we're in this garage, which looks way different than the other garage, it's just as packed with stuff, storage stuff, some weed eaters and stuff like that. But the reason we're up here is because some of these bolts on this truck sits so low compared to the K5 and some of the other projects that you see me playing with, that I cannot easily get under the truck because it's so low to the ground and be able to work under it. So I had to jack it up. Well, out in our, I don't even know if you want to call them garages. They're more like storage sheds for like parking vehicles. We're not really working on them. It's all gravel out there. So whenever I tried to put a jack stand up in there, the jack stands wanted to lean a little bit or they'd sink into the stone, or I'd like jacked up the S10 and I set it on jack stands and they'd look okay for a day. And I'd come out a couple days later and it looks like they just slowly are settling, which was a little too uneasy for me. So I moved the S10 up here and parked it on the concrete pad outside of the house. Well, it's wintertime in Pennsylvania, so it's been raining and just kind of nasty and cold and dark, and I have to lock up my tools and pick everything up every time I want to work on it. So I decided to move it in here where it's a little bit warmer and a lot sturdier of a ground, and I can use a creeper. I love being able to use the creeper. So much nicer than crawling around in the dirt and the concrete or in the gravel. But here, let's get under here. So like I was saying earlier in the video, I tried changing the fuel filter first because the basic cause, what we think is the issue with the purple truck here, is that it was not getting fuel. It wasn't being stalled out. It's not like it's a timing issue or anything like that. If I dumped fuel straight into the throttle body, it would fire right up and it would run until the fuel burned out. And I could do that over and over and over again and have no issues with it. You spray starting fluid in there, it would fire up for half a second and then shut right off. So I tried the fuel filter because it is possible that there was some bad fuel or maybe just some old corrosion in the fuel tank or something that had clogged up that filter over time. I mean, the truck is 31 years old now, so that is very possible. So the fuel filter sits right underneath the driver's side door, right in front of the fuel tank. That's that little silver cylinder up there. It looks like a can, and it's a bolt and like a, I don't know what you call it, kind of like a swivel bolt on one of them. So there's, or not a bolt, just like the nut on the fuel line. So you loosen those, pop it right off, and I recommend having the new one with you because you're going to want to put it right back on, or else gas is going to drip unless you have some type of cap or a plug, whatever it is that goes on the end of the other line. So I changed that, and that was not the issue. So now our goal is to get the bed off of the truck. Reminder, you need to take those couple screws out if you're ever going to do this. There are 8 bolts on my truck. I think a lot of newer trucks only have 6 bolts. This one is a 1992 S10, and it's their long bed. So it's like a 7.5 or 7'4" bed or something like that. And it has 8 bolts that hold the bed onto the frame. And so I got those out. So we're gonna try maybe tomorrow or another day. I'm gonna call my brother-in-law, or Maggie even can probably help me. It's honestly not super heavy. I can pick up half of it by myself pretty easily with no problem. So I'm gonna have somebody help me pick up the bed, and we're gonna carry it out of the garage to get it out of the way. Change the fuel filter, which really shouldn't, or not, the fuel pump. We'll change the fuel pump, which really should not take long at all. They are a pretty simple change. And while the bed is off, I'm probably gonna try just to clean up the frame. Not that it's really rusty. There's a little bit of dirt and a little bit of like surface rust and just kind of grease and road tar on it. So I'm gonna try to pressure wash all that stuff off of there, and I might go ahead and just give it a fresh coat of paint just to make it kind of look neater. It's not an off-road truck. It's not like the K5 where I'd splash it in some mud every now and then or take it on some light off-roading. This is gonna be a street truck, and hopefully maybe one day a race truck, who knows. But so I'm gonna try to clean up the frame and clean up the bottom side of the bed so it doesn't rust away. There are a few little spots, kind of, I don't even know if you'll be able to see it up towards the back up there, that are rusty, but they're not terrible. They're not all the way through. So I'm hoping to be able to pressure wash it and kind of lightly sand it or wire wheel it and get it cleaned up. So that is where we are at with the purple truck. And I've debated on repainting the whole truck because there's some big paint chips in it. I mean, they're all over the truck, and it's just kind of scratched up and dinged up. I mean, I kind of like how the flame looks on the front of this truck, and I don't know that I can recreate it as good as it is, but I can make some flames on there, I'm sure. So I'm debating on just repainting the whole truck while the bed is off, and I can get behind the cab really well and get it all matching in a nice glossy purple, and maybe take these trim pieces off the side because they're starting to flake apart. But comment what you think. Let me know. I am not sure. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Stick around, stay tuned, because there's going to be more to come. And we have some big stuff coming, hopefully, in the near future. Like I said, we're just really busy, but we will get that done. I had to sneeze.